Domino Rally, also known as Domino Express, is a toy product manufactured by Pressman Toys in the late 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s. It was originally named Domino Track and designed by Jason Carroll. Basically, it's a tier list video. Happy holidays, everyone. When this video, I hope everyone's having a good... I'm recording this a day before New Year's Eve. It's certainly a time to look back upon your past self and reflect and see who you were at a point in time. And I can tell you what I was, obsessed with Domino Rally. I thought it would be really fun to put together a tier list for the holidays while I'm working on other things that are taking a long time. Now you may be asking, Joel, how many Domino Rally stunts could there possibly be? 101. I mean, there's probably more than 100. That's just the number that I could find, quite frankly. The number that I was able to research. There was a few that I sort of excluded here and there. I just sort of picked and chose based on what made sense to me and what I wanted to talk about. So quite frankly, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time here. We're starting off big. We're starting off with the big guns. That's right. It's the yellow zigzag. This was one of the Domino Rally components that was genuinely reliable. And this is going to be a common trend throughout this video of like... The Domino Rally components, these things are not known for how you say working. They don't. It's sort of like how people grew up with the game Mousetrap and it never does catch the mouse. That's basically every single individual stunt in Domino Rally does not work, and we'll get into the weeds as to why. This is one of the few examples where it works. Wow. It's a B tier. It's good. I like it. It's a classic. I don't have bad things to say about it. Next up, we have the Starburst, absolute classic. This is sort of what you think of when you think of sort of Domino Rally components. It splits into 5 paths. There is a pretty big downside to it, which is that it's not exactly synchronized. Like you kind of expect a path splitter to split the paths evenly and succinctly and at the same time, and it's not the case. In fact, there are even a number of Starbursts, I owned one of them, where sometimes it would hit the lever and then one of the Starburst spokes just wouldn't react. That happened a lot. I saw other people's Starbursts where this was the case. They were very cheaply produced, and so I think it's gonna be another B tier. Because even though like it would be an S if it was perfectly synchronized and like it had a really like solid, reliable mechanism, but that's just not the case. All right, so we're moving on. We're gonna go to the glider plane, another iconic one. I am tempted to give an A tier, honestly. Like, it was never super reliable. The one that I had was one of the modern ones, which basically never worked. I guess another thing I should mention about this style of launcher, because all of these types of contraptions or all of these types of stunts use this launcher. It's basically just a weighted domino that hits a latched little thing that has a rubber band shooter. The thing about a rubber band shooter is that it's like, that's a lot of tension that it's keeping in, and the plastic on the latch is pretty thick. And so you would expect, like a mousetrap, like you have a mechanism that is designed so that when you reset it, it has a hair trigger so that it will go off consistently every single time. Domino Rally said, no, we're gonna make the children meticulously reset it so that it works for them, but not design it so that it has to work every single time. So that's definitely a massive caveat. Next up, we have a classic. We have the pivot track. So I mean, I'm including a lot of the domino variants here. It's pretty simple, but it's pretty nice just having like an auto domino setup. I think it's A tier as well. I'm gonna put it above the plane for now. I think it's just like iconic. It's one of the things, I don't know that a pivot track existed before Domino Rally, before this sort of domino toy kit thing. And it's awesome. They're great. The curve track is basically the same. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it next to it. It's nothing more to say, it's a curve. I mean, they're a little bit harder to reset because with the normal straight one, you flip it and then that resets. Whereas the curve one, it's like a little bit more awkward to like get it to set in place. But yeah, it's fine nonetheless, same thing. Next up, we have the classic loop-de-loop. We're encountering another one of these peculiarities in the unreliable territory. Yeah, so if you watch any sort of flippy gap behind the scenes, anything, these don't work. These don't work. They don't work very well. The one that I had one of the modern ones, and I guess I'll mention that's what's next is the modern loop-de-loops. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two. So the old classic loop-de-loops basically incentivized you. They basically told you place a standard plastic domino in the launcher. It launches, it goes around the loop, yada-da, la-da-dee, la-da-da. Except for the fact that it doesn't work because the friction between the domino and the slide is so high that it's like always going to bounce off the edge, or it's not going to have enough speed, or it's going to like, in what universe is this going to be consistent? The answer is none. And so for the modern version, they added cars, except they're very cheaply made, so it wasn't that much of an improvement. The wheels barely turn on the cars, and they added little ramps in the end, and sometimes it doesn't even make it up the ramp because of the friction. A pro tip, like if you do genuinely want this version, like the version with the domino to work, is that you soap up the domino. If you put a little bit of soap on the domino, put a little soap on the track, it's like a machine builder technique. It'll work more consistently if it's a little bit more slippery. But generally, just using a plastic marble instead of a domino or car is the way to go in terms of reliability. Overall, it is still pretty iconic. I mean, I do like it. Considering there is a fix for it and is a way to make it look nice, I am going to put them both in B. I'll put the modern version a little bit above the past version, but I kind of do view them similarly. So that's where I'm at. B tier. Let's go. Okay, we're getting to the rocket. We're already getting to the most iconic Domino Rally component here, the rocket launcher. This has a really interesting mechanism. I used to be really obsessed with the mechanism of this sort of launcher here. Basically, there's like a little lever at the beginning the domino hits that sort of unlatches the little thing in the way of the marble, so it goes down and the marble can go down the track. It goes down, it hits the lever, boom, up goes the rocket. I lied. That's not what happens. In the old school rocket, the reason why these rockets never worked is because they sort of, I think the engineers behind the construction, they sort of forgot that momentum exists and basically decided, let's cancel out all of the gravitational momentum of this marble and have it drop into a tube before going on the lever. It doesn't work. It's a C tier. It never works. When you get one that works, it's incredible, but it never works. The classic rocket never works. And the modern rocket, you might think that because they fixed the issue with the pipe, the marble no longer has to go through a pipe. It just falls straight onto the lever. But they decreased the mass of the marble. They made it a smaller marble, and they made it increased the range of how much it has to unlatch in order for it to work. And I'm like, it's terrible. It's not good. I don't like this. Another thing, this might have just been my modern rocket that I had. The spring is worse. The spring in the rocket for the modern launcher barely launches it. It launches it like 3 inches, whereas the old school rockets could go friggin' flying. Like, that's what you want out of a rocket. Like, if anything, the modern rocket is worse because even though it works slightly more consistently, it like doesn't look good. Anyway, we're moving on. They're both C tier. They upset me. Bridge. It's a bridge. You put dominoes on it. I do really like the design of the old bridge. It reminds me of the old like Flippy Cat videos with the spaghetti mountain and stuff like that. Like, that's really fun. But I think it is just a bridge. So I don't think it can go above C tier. I'm gonna put it below the rockets for now, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think the main issue for me growing up as someone who didn't like building individually placed dominoes is that you really gotta fill out that bridge with dominoes. Like, that's like 15 dominoes or something like that, and that's too much. That's too much. If you're someone like me, that's too much. Camelback is next, and this one is pretty iconic as well. I feel like it's one of the staples, like the visual staples of Domino Rally. I like the fact that there are 2 points to pass dominoes through, and you can sort of incorporate them in interesting ways there. It works mostly. I will say the dominoes sometimes have a little bit of trouble making it over that first hump, so the reliability is not entirely there, but I do like it. I am going to put it in B tier alongside the zigzag there. Original zigzag. Now we are moving on to the staircase. Yes, of course. the Domino staircase. Now these are in some sets sold individually. I mean, I know most notably I had the racing set, which incentivizes you to start off with a staircase, having the dominoes go down the stairs, and then that starts the reaction. So they do sell them just straight up individually without elevators and such. As its own, or as it's a sort of standalone thing, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I kind of want to put it a little bit higher. I'll put it above the Rockets because it's consistent. And I really like the sound it makes. Like when you put a ball going down, it's really satisfying. I like using it sort of just as a track. So from like a usefulness perspective, it's pretty good. But I don't love that it's just its own thing, and that they marketed it as a stunt. We're gonna get into some crazy ones right about now, because we're going straight from the staircase to the elevator with the staircase. Yeah, now we're talking. See, this I like. This is where it's at, because we have a mechanism here. We have a latch at the bottom with a pulley system where as soon as it comes unlatched, the way to the top brings the elevator up to the top, and it knocks a little domino positioned at the top around, and it can send the dominoes down the staircase. This is an easy A tier. It's top of A tier easily. I mean, it was consistent. It's reliable. Next up, we have another expansion. You know, we saw the stairs, we saw the elevator with stairs. Now we have an elevator and stairs and a muncher. This is an S tier. I mean, it is. It's just what it is. I mean, I love it's great. This is one of the ones I was obsessed with as a kid. I'm not gonna rank every single individual muncher, by the way. I'm just using this as an example. Obviously, there's the one from Ghost Ride set. There's the one from Spectacular Stunts. Weirdly enough, the Spectacular Stunts one doesn't have an up and down motion. The idea of the muncher on the staircase is that as it's going down, the little chomper's going nom 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 as it goes down the staircase. As it goes down the staircase, the monster truck is just a plastic truck, so it is worse. I would put that in maybe A tier instead, but I'm not ranking that one, so you can take that or take that for what you will. Now we're ranking robots. Yeah, knock 'em, sock 'em, mini robots. I mean, it's not just the robots. I'm also including the little skeletons, all of the little spinnies basically that I'm familiar with in the classic sets. These are great. I mean, these are super fun. I mean, they're A tier. I mean, they're a lot of fun to play around with. Sometimes you get ones that are a little bit inconsistent. They spin at different speeds, but generally they're still pretty fun to use regardless. And the fact that they worked with those crappy plastic dominoes is kind of a miracle to begin with. So I think that is a worthy placement right there. We got the helicopter. Now this is exciting. This is an absolute classic. This helicopter motion, this was the thing I was most obsessed with when it comes to Domino Rally. Growing up watching those Domino Rally videos, not just Flippy Cat, but I remember Domino Standard, Best Pal, all those. The stunt I was obsessed with the absolute most was the helicopter, because I was like, how does it work? I mean, I now know it's a little string. It's just a simple little string thing, but I was like, this is crazy. This is a starburst, and it's got a thing on top. That's incredible. I'm still. I'll put it in S. My childhood obsession means that I feel like I have to put it in S. I'm considering A tier because it's not that great in an actual setup, because as soon as you activate a starburst, 5 different paths go off, and you're not going to be focusing on the helicopter anymore. And the helicopter is the best part. All right, next up we have the spin top. We're going into the Ghost Ride set. Ooh!
Go neon bright in the night. Check it out.
I mean, it's fine. It's a unique piece because there's not a whole lot of Domino Rally components where you have to use them at the beginning. You can't use them anywhere else because there's no component they built to start the spin top. It just sort of is what it is. So I think for that reason, I'll put it at the top of C tier for now, just because, no, I like the staircase more. It is cool. I do like it as a starter. I feel like out of all the starters they designed, it's probably the best one. I do think I prefer a Domino Rally component overall, that you can have dominoes going into it and dominoes coming out of it, basically an input and an output. I think sometimes when you have a component that's just an output or just an input, it feels a little lazy, it feels a little uninspired, and the mechanical motion, it's sort of builder's challengey. Either it ends and you can't do anything else with it after, or you're starting it as a builder's challenge, and that's, a little bit more lame to me. The hanging skeleton! Ooh, this thing doesn't work! If you have a Domino Rally domino going to it, basically, it doesn't work. It requires a Mexican train domino. If you have that, it works. It's really as simple as that. An annoying part about this that makes me consider wanting to put it really low is that when you try to put it in the box, it keeps springing up. Like it's like a thing, like it doesn't, like it's longer on its side than it is on its top. So you want to have it on its top when it's in the box, like to close the box, but it keeps springing up the thing every time you try to do it, and it's like really annoying. It's like a C tier though. It's okay. It's okay. It's better than a bridge. It's nice. The Hearty Halls. This one sucks. Yeah, this one's kind of whatever. This one, the idea is that you have a door that opens and then the big ghost goes down, 4 ghosts come up. It gets really like stucky. Like if you mess around with it, it like feels cheap. The actual mechanism that makes all 4 of them come up feels visibly jank, and the motion is so quick. It's a D tier. Like it's just too uninspired, I think. The guillotine, the ghostly guillotine. The scariest part about this is probably the fact that I don't think it's ever worked for anyone. Let's do a full Joel's Inventions breakdown of why the ghostly guillotine was doomed from the start in terms of from a design standpoint. So first of all, we have a domino staircase. Cool, seems simple enough, seems reliable enough. No, you'd be wrong if you thought that. There's a weighted domino on top. What's going to happen when you have very lightweight dominoes go up and hit a weighted domino? The answer is they're not going to knock the weighted domino over because they already are like losing momentum by going upstairs. So that's an issue. You also have the issue of the string itself. The string is not being looped through pulleys or anything that has, very minimal friction surfaces. It's going through some very high friction areas. So as soon as that little clothespin like latch thing, that's basically what it is when the domino goes down, unreleases, the string just might not release. Unless you have it very meticulously constructed, once again, design flaw. And then you have the guillotine itself. And you might think that if it makes it this far, you're good to go. It knocks the marble right into the bowl. The way it's designed is basically, instead of hitting the marble sort of head on, like imagine my fist is a marble. You imagine it would hit it like that. No, it hits it like this. It's like hitting the absolute very edge of the marble, which is why would you do that? Why would you design it to be like that? It baffles me. It is like objectively one of the coolest things when it does work. So I am gonna put it sort of with the rockets, I think. Like, I do just like the way that it looks, and if you use it in a video, it's great, but like, it doesn't work. It's like probably the least reliable Domino Rally component in existence. Next up we have, speaking of reliability, the minecart. Yay! yeah! In a billion years, this is never gonna work. It's never going to. Stop it! So you can't design things like this. So how are you going to time the minecart? How are you going to make it so that every time the minecart goes down, you know it's going at the exact right speed to be able to plop the thing out? Also, how can you get a tiny little plastic piece to flop out of a thing and land on a tiny little minecart without bouncing out every single time consistently? The answer is it's never going to happen. It's actually never going to happen. Not even once. And then the actual like leap day lever setup. Like if you take the cap off the thing, it's like some leap day lever shit. I'll try to take a picture of it and just show you. It's like the cursed levers. If you're wondering why sometimes you'll see a video with this thing in it, the minecart goes down and the thing doesn't even flop out, it's because the levers suck. Like the design of the mechanism is terrible. The minecart wheels are so cheaply designed that they're just gonna get stuck along the rails. They're not gonna go down consistently at all. The thing is like so lightweight. I mean, it's gotta be D. The thing is, like, the shittiest Domino Rally components are sometimes the ones that aesthetically look the best and the ones that I was obsessed with the most as a kid. So, like, part of me wants to bring it up to C just from a visual standpoint. I think I will, but I'm, like, so hesitant because it's, like, it sucks. Like, the design of it is so flawed. But yeah, so we have the Domino Dealer here. It's a gimmick. I mean, I guess technically all of these things are gimmicks when you really think about it, but it really is a gimmick. Like I don't think there was a single kid who ever got a domino dealer and was like, oh, I'm gonna use this to set up my domino lines. No, you're not. It only sets up like a maximum of what, like 50 dominoes in a line. You can't restock it as it's moving, and it's not gonna stop moving once it's out of dominoes. It's just gonna keep moving and then not put any more dominoes down. And then sometimes it'll just knock over your line. It's in D. The D stands for Domino Dealer. The Double Domino Dealer. Woo! Here we go. It's an F. It sucks. I had this one. This is in the Maxi Power Plus set, and the gimmick is that it does 2 domino lines instead of just one. Wow, we really needed that. We really needed that in our lives. Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. Yep. Thank you, Domino Express. I love you. Even if it worked perfectly, there is 0 utility to a machine that just sets up 50 dominoes in 2 lines for you. Like, why do you need that? You don't need that. Thank you. Moving on, Fireball. We're moving on to the Adventure set. Now, this is actually the first example of a component outside of the helicopter. This is the first example of a component that I never owned. I guess I never really prefaced that I grew up with Domino Rally sets. I wasn't just obsessed with them, I actually owned a fair amount of them. At the time of me owning the most amount of them, I had 9. I never owned the Adventure set. It never really appealed to me that much. We have a basic sort of Fireball launcher here. It's the same launcher design as I mentioned previously as the glider. It's okay. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. There's not a lot for me to say about it. It seems like it would be reliable enough, but I never owned it, so I don't know for absolute sure. We'll get into the reasons why I know a little bit later, but there we have this thing. This is kind of a duo, so we have the actual marble ball lift, and we have the funnel. The actual ball lift itself was really interesting to me growing up. I don't know how consistent of a ball lift it is, but I did find it intriguing. I think I'm going to give this alone a B tier. The funnel is just a funnel. It's a ball funnel. I think the inconvenient thing about this funnel is you can't really adapt it. You can't use it with other things. And it's like really inconveniently high off the ground, it seems. Like if you look just at the picture, like you want a funnel that's reasonably close to the ground so you can have like marbles. Like if you're doing a chain reaction, you want like a big thing to catch stuff in. You don't want a tall, thin thing to catch stuff in. So it's like fine. I mean, it's like, I think if the ball lift is B tier, this has got to be C tier. I think I'll put it above the cursed mine carts there. I feel like I should move the guillotine down for being unreliable. We'll put the unreliable boys at the bottom of C tier there. We have the path splitter. This is really interesting in concept. I like the way it looks with the white marbles. It does look like very aesthetically pleasing. I think the biggest issue I have with this is, and we'll get into this with a few other things as well, is the idea of splitting paths is not like that exciting. When you're doing a chain reaction or a domino rally, like a proper domino setup, you don't want to divert attention in a bunch of different areas so you can't focus on what's happening. So the idea of splitting up paths and having to go like, "Arr!" If you use those paths, how are you going to focus on what's happening? And so that's sort of a fundamental flaw with the path splitter. But I do enjoy this path splitter. I think it's cool. I'm going to put it right above the funnel, honestly. We have this thing. Why does it go rally? It's annoying. It makes sounds. The idea is it's like a crisscross, which you could already do with like a domino bridge or with just dominoes. But it makes really annoying sounds at you. Great. I love that. We wanted that. I asked for that. You asked for that. It's an F tier. It's not, is it bottom of that? No, the double domino dealer's worse. We got this thing. The zigzag, of course, I recognize it. This one in particular is from the Extreme Action set, which we'll get into in a little bit here. It's one of the sets that I owned growing up. This is the old school design of the zigzag, and I can actually compare it with the modern zigzag. And now, upon first glance, they look pretty similar. Look like they're basically the same thing. Joel, why did you put 2 of the same thing in the same tier list? It's because they're different. And if you look really closely, I'm talking really closely. I'm talking, no, not that close, not that close. Just there's a little latch at the bottom, basically, is all it is. The latch on the modern version is meant for like a domino to go into so that it acts as like a hinge, like a pivot point for that domino to fall over, aka the modern version is reliable, the old version is not. Neither are particularly great to me outside of sort of using them as a timing delay. I won't knock its color against it. I feel like the garish green is not the best look, but I do think it is an iconic part. It's definitely deserving of at least C tier. I think it goes below the staircase. I think the old version, for being quite frankly unreliable, this particular colored version from the Extreme Action set, the fact that it's not reliable really does bring it down for me. I'm going to put it here. It's more reliable than the guillotine, but it's not as good. Like, if you have a component that's this sort of basic and generic, I think you need it to be 100% reliable. Otherwise, there's no point in it existing. And speaking of which, we actually have the best version, or what I believe to be the best version. Now, this version, I guess I'm a little hypocritical. This is not the reliable version. This is also one of the old school versions, but it's clear plastic, and the blue looks really, really good. I'm actually going to put this into A tier, and the reason why is because it's just a really good aesthetic one to incorporate into machines, which I still do to this day. Like, this is just a useful one to have. I'm going to put it right here. I just like the look. Like, the clear blue plastic really does look good with the consistent pattern. The solid color ones just don't look that good, in my opinion. But I appreciate that the modern one is reliable. We have this weird orange thing. So some backstory to this orange thing. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be called, but the Spectacular Stunt set, I believe, was the originator of this contraption. And the idea is that it's a way so that you don't have to start your rally with a marble track. You can actually have the domino hit this orange thing, and that will spring up and hit the marble for you. They're not super reliable. You might recognize them from a couple of my machines. I still continue to use this. I do really like this as a mechanism. I like this as an idea, a thing that you press and it springs and it releases a part of itself. That's really cool to me, a spring boosted sort of lever. But it was not consistent. I mean, the way the marble track was designed, it was never going to actually work consistently. And you can't actually react to the start of it super easily with a plastic domino either. You kind of need a Mexican train domino or something reasonably heavy to give it a boost. But for its utility, I am still going to put it in A tier, I think, just because I do still use these. They're on my mechanism shelf, so I'm going to put it right next to the blue zigzag, because I feel like the utility is approximately the same, and I just like it from a mechanism standpoint. Next up, we have the motorcycle. So some backstory, I do have the Spectacular Stunt set, but it was a mixed set. It didn't come with everything. This is sort of one of the unfortunate things about buying Domino Rally sets off the internet. Mine didn't come with the motorcycle, basically. It came with the motorcycle tracks, but not the motorcycle. And so I don't really know how consistent the motorcycle is. I always liked the motorcycle. I do think that having a bigger target makes more sense for those orange things to activate the motorcycle potentially, but I don't remember that being distinctly I wouldn't think that would make it more reliable. I don't think that'll help much. But I do like the motorcycle. I do think it's cool to have something else other than a marble on a track. So it's going to go in B tier. It's going to go above the ball lift there. I think that's good. Next up, we have the marble track itself, of course, the marble track. This one is from Galaxy Explorer, but I'm kind of just including this as all marble track. Once again, it's one of these gray area ones where there is utility to this marble track, but for the set itself, it's so poorly designed. It's so cheap. It is so cheap. The little stands that go into it, it's very awkward. It's very clunky. They sort of rotate on each other weird. The turn tracks have to stay perfectly level based on the sort of system. I do think I still give it a C tier though, from a stunt perspective. I'll put it at the top of C tier though. Okay, this is the first sort of variant we're getting into. We're getting to variant Sudoku. This is the gray variant of the yellow zigzag, the iconic zigzag. I don't know if there was more than one set. I know this one comes from Galaxy Explorer. I don't know if they made more of this specific kind, but I really like this color scheme. I like it enough that I will put it above the other zigzag. I just put it right above that. I'm not going to rank the color variants for everything. I just figured this one was worth including because it's fun. Now we are getting into the Extreme Action set once more with the motorcycle launch. Now this is effectively, if you sort of pair them side by side, it looks a little familiar. It looks a little bit similar to one we've already seen. Because it's a recolor with a slightly different thing that's being launched. The Domino Rally does this a lot. I'm not ranking all of these. There's a lot of reskins of Domino Rally stunts that exist out there in modern sets that I'm not going to get into. This is one of them, basically, but I did grow up with the motorcycle. I do think it's worse. The motorcycle, the biggest issue with it is that it's honestly, quite frankly, a bit clunky. And so trying to launch the motorcycle, it doesn't go very far. I think the fireball from the adventure set makes more sense because it's a ball, and so even if it doesn't launch, well, it's smaller, for starters, so it can launch further just from that alone, but it can roll after it lands, whereas the motorcycle is kind of just going to get launched and then flop over, not super satisfyingly. And so for that perspective, or for that reason, I am going to put it in C tier. I do think it's unfortunately bottom of C tier right now. It's just kind of boring. We have the Surfer. This one was one of the ones I was obsessed with as a kid. This is the reason why I really wanted the Extreme Action set. This is actually a screenshot of the one that I had. I do think there are improvements that could be made to this. I am going to put it in A tier. I'm going to put it right next to the elevator here. I do really love this one. And it's true, it's just another one of those clones of the Domino glider launcher or whatever, but it's with an extension on the end. But I still really like the creativity of having it launch something that's not a ball, it's not a marble, it's not like it's just a little surf thing. You know, I think it would be cooler if it launched the surf thing and it went onto a track, or it did like a spirally thing. Like, there's ways that this could be improved, but I really do like the motion of the vertical surf launcher and the domino getting hit on the internal. We have the glider launcher. This is another example. I had the Extreme Action set. It was also a mixed set, similar to my Neon Super Deluxe set and the Spectacular Stunt set, as I mentioned. I did not have the glider itself. I had basically just the mountain structure. The idea is that it just sort of, it basically is one of these orange things, but bigger, and it launches from the inside. I think the latch system is a little bit different, but that's basically the idea. It was pretty cool. I mean, I never had the components for it. I think I'm gonna just say it's okay. It was never really a standout mechanism for me, but I do think it goes right here, right below the bridge. We're getting into the Mad Lab set now with the disgusting, gross tongue. Spoiler alert, this is actually just a repackaged elevator with like goo that you put. It's like a container on top instead of some whatever else it would be, I guess, the top of the pulley system. And you're supposed to put in some gross goopy stuff. I don't think my set, even though my Mad Lab set was a brand new one, I don't remember if it came with the goop or not, or like the instructions to make the goop. I don't think I particularly wanted to make the goop, if I'm being honest, or use the gross old man in front of it. Like, from a mechanism standpoint, I like the idea of a Domino Rally elevator where something comes up and it knocks a container over. That's cool because you can put dominoes in the container and it makes a splash on the ground. Like, that's a cool idea. But as it stands right now, I don't think there's any kid that wanted this. I don't think anyone would want that. No one wants a big old gross man with tongue sticking out. As it, like, I don't know, I didn't. I was definitely not a kid into gross out stuff. We got the eyeball though. This one's iconic. This one's really, really cool. It has a unique mechanism for the actual release of the eyeball. I've used it in a machine once, actually twice before. It's a really cool mechanism. It's just a sort of really long lever at the top, and the eyeball's heavy enough that it can weigh that lever over when it unlatches at the bottom. And it's awesome. I mean, this is another classic one. I mean, this one, you know, I put it in the top 3 of A tier so far. Especially when the eyeball is sticky, so it goes down the staircase really slowly. It's like surprisingly a really, really satisfying one for what was intended to be a gross out set. Speaking of which, we got the Brain Candy live. Vsauce.
CBDC here.
Skeletor here. We have... I guess it's not bad. I mean, this is another one where it's just an endpoint. You can't do a connector with this one, so there's not a lot of fun stuff going on here. You only get a limited number of packets of the green goop per Mad Lab set, and if you get it used, you're probably not going to get a lot of them at all, if any. And also, like, why would you even want to use it in the first place? I'm gonna give it a D. It's not quite an F. Like, it's not as disgusting as the old man with slimy tongue. Next up, we have a component from one of the Express sets. This is more of a modern component, which is the Path Splitter. It's available in the racing set. At the very least, there might be more sets that it was available in as well. It's very self-explanatory. But once again, I would make the argument similar to the Triple Path Splitter up here. It's not useful. It's not useful to have a Domino Rally path that splits into 3, and also like it doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing. Like, if you're gonna split a path into 3, like, just use dominoes. It is more convenient to literally just place dominoes intermittently in between a normal line. The utility of this as a pivot track, it just doesn't make sense why it needs to exist. So I'm gonna put it in D tier. I'm gonna put it, it's similar, I guess it's similar to the Domino Dealer. It's maybe a little bit better than the Domino Dealer, because it is a pivot track. Like, you can use it. It's just like, there's no reason to want to use that. And we have an unfortunate, we have a bit of a devastating, a bit of an L, we have a bit of a loss here. It's not what I would describe as a W moment here for Domino Express. This is like this is like the modern bridge is what this is. It's just a bridge. It's another bridge, but it's the modern version, and it looks ugly to me. It's bottom of D. It's not good. Anyway, whatever. Next up, Dinosaur. I never owned the Dinosaur. I am going to make an assumption here. It's a pretty bold one, it's a pretty big one. I'm going to make the assumption that this thing never has worked. If you watch the Flippy Cat video with the dinos, I have a distinct memory of literally the first little donut going into the dino's mouth, and then the rest of them all miss. Because it's just literally impossible. The mouth opens like this wide, and you're trying to get something this wide into a mouth this wide. And so like, literally 99 times out of 100, it's not going to make it in. But it is very cute. I like that it's a dino. I like that it could eat me in my sleep. But it's impossible. It can't work. It's gonna go in D for dino. The dino booty. I'll put the dino booty. I mean, the dino booty probably works better than the dino mouth, so I'll put the dino booty just slightly ahead there. But I have nothing else to say. We have the All-American glider. Yeah, so clearly this is gonna have to go in the USA tier again. Next up we have scary spider. It's a spider kick out. The legs go out. It's definitely not a starburst. Definitely not a repackaged starburst. Nope. There's absolutely nothing suspicious going on here. It's a brand new. It's a brand new stunt. Judging from the Ben's Domino video where it doesn't work, I'm going to assume that it's even worse than the starburst and it doesn't work. That being said, I am unfortunately going to have to put in the Runaway Dangerous Creature tier because that is what it is. Next up, we have a cannon. Now we're getting into the pirate zone, if you know what I mean. Now, Domino Rally has released a number of pirate sets over the years. Not too many stunts, so it shouldn't take us too long to get through. But we're going to start off with the cannon here. So cannon, I don't think it launches a ball. I believe it just launches like a ball with a stick on it, which is a little bit weird. But I guess it's cool. I'm going to give it a B tier. Why not? I'm feeling generous. I'm feeling nice. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling good. It's a cannon. It's like kind of cool. Whatever. Okay, whatever. Palm tree. Now this is I can talk about. So the only pirate set that I ever owned was the Pirate Skull Island, which came with the palm tree. The palm tree is very cool. I like the mechanism a lot, and it is nice in the sense that it is a hair trigger. So a lightweight domino can set it off. The issue is that it's so much of a hair trigger that anything can set it off, including any amount of vibrations or stepping on the floor too hard or anything. It's not very well designed in that regard. It's also very heavy. Like the top of the palm tree, the idea is it just falls down, but it's a big chunk of plastic that's falling down on these super lightweight dominoes. And so it's meant to be a path splitter to split up into 7 paths at the bottom, but it just scatters the dominoes all over. It is iconic. I do think it's deserving of A tier. I did make it into a machine trick as well, so for that reason alone, it's got to go up there. Next up is the coffin. I quite like the coffin as well. I made this into a machine trick. It's fairly reliable. It's just a skeleton falls out. I'm gonna put it in B tier, in between the zigzags is what I'm feeling. Put it in the zigzags. Now this is what we're talking about here. So as a kid, I feel like when I thought of stunt, I'm like, I want something cool. I want something like mechanically interesting and visually interesting that like takes a chain reaction idea and like makes it into a cool, like it's a stunt. Like, and a zip line is a stunt. Like, this is cool. There's the Skull Rock, which has a zip line on it. I think the only downside to this one is that you can't extend the zip line to say like go all the way to the floor or whatever. It just is like a set length. But it is really cool. Basically, the mouth closes once the domino goes inside with the weighted domino at the front, and then the domino goes down the zip line. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it is really cool. I'm gonna put it in S tier. Like, honestly, I really love this one. This one, it's one of the few ones that I had that I was like, this is really cool. It's a zip line. Nice. All right, next up we have This one is from the Sea Battle set. So this one, basically the idea is we have, it has a number of stunts that can combine together to form one big ship. I never owned this one, but it looks kind of cool. This one is like a popping parrot. So like the domino in the middle goes, and then the parrot pops up, the side dominoes go. It's cool. It's cool enough. It's like it's cute. I mean, it is cute. It's like a C tier. I'll put it here. Now this one is actually really cool. This one basically unfurls the pirate flag. Once again, pretty self-explanatory. It's gonna go in A tier. I think this one is just a genuinely really cool one. I'm gonna put it here. All right, next up we have Walk the Plank. Ooh, Walk the Plank, devastating stunt. So this one, you basically have dominoes. That's it. Yeah, so it's like a D tier. Yeah, I mean the biggest thing about this one is that it's walking the plank, but it's not that crazy to have a domino fall off a 1-inch edge. I feel like you get more height from like a regular bridge. Like if you compare the height of this to the height of the bridge is taller. It's not the most life-threatening walking of the plank I think I've seen in my life at this point. Though, I mean, I guess it's intended that you build the ship on a table surface and then have the domino fall off, but still, it's like, whatever. This one's also kind of whatever. It has some mechanical components to it. Like this one, the sail basically goes out. It goes out forward. It would make more sense to me if it like raised the sail up, but it kind of just shoots it out and then it pops off this thing off the end of the boat. So it's fine. I'm gonna put it here. Yeah. All right. Now we have the sailboat. This one's kind of cute. I mean, it's just 2 direction changers. It's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. But there isn't a lot of utility. I mean, once again, it's a path splitter, but the paths are not like splitting off like a Y shape. They're splitting backwards. And I don't really know how you're going to make a use of a backwards path split. So from a utility perspective, I have no idea how you're going to use that, but it is very cute. So I'm going to put it in the C tier as well. I'm going to put it above the parrot. Yeah, next up we have, everyone buckle up. It's a shark. Yeah, so obviously this is going to go in the dangerous creature tier. Run away, please run away. I beg of you, you will lose your life if you don't. Next up we have the treasure chest. This one's another just cute one. I mean, I gotta put this one. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's just fun. It just opens the chest. It's cute. Like, I mean, come on, dude. It's nice. Next up we have the prison break. Now this one I think was its own set. It might have come with a cannon as well. I'm not sure. But it's like what happens in this condensed space is basically 3 separate stunts that are all very, very, very lame. It's basically 2 dominoes falling over and an orange, one of those orange like springy lever things. It's basically if you combined Haunty Halls with the orange thing. It's not that good. I'm gonna put it in D tier. We have this one though. This one's interesting. So this one's sort of a dual purpose ship. The idea is that one path makes the sail fall over and hit a domino line. The other one, a domino line can go into the ship and reveal buried treasure. So interesting double use. I think it's okay. It doesn't really stand out that much to me, but I do like that it has a lot of different mechanical uses. I think that it's, I think it's deserving of B tier, honestly, just for having sort of complex mechanical uses there. I give it props for that. We have all right, next up we have oh, this one. So we have another Domino Rally set. But what's interesting about this one is that it's a factory themed set that I did not know existed until I started making this video. Thank you, Domino Swag Gin. Also, thank you, Domino Swag Gin, for just like making a video showcasing various sets in general. Otherwise, I would not have found a couple of these sets, including the dangerous Octo creature we have just seen. But this one, it's another path splitter. And it's yet another path splitter that goes backwards, and I gotta admit, I don't like this one. I really don't. Like, I don't like the color scheme that much, and I don't like the fact that it's another path split that goes backwards. It's like forcing you to go backwards with the path split as well. I'm going to put it in D tier. I think it's probably slightly better than that bridge. We have more though from this factory set. This one's actually pretty cool. It is a funnel. Similar to this blue funnel from before, except there is actually an input. You can have a domino line going into that funnel and a domino line coming out. It has like an interesting aesthetic to it that feels unique. It feels maybe a little bit outside of what Domino Rally is supposed to feel like, but I do still really like it. So I think I am going to give this, I'm going to give it a B tier. I'm going to give it a B tier. I'm going to put it in, it is still a funnel. I'm going to put it right below the loop-de-loops. Next up, also from the factory set, we have this pulley system. So this is basically just a means of getting from the floor to the table. It's a fairly straightforward mechanism. It's just a basic pulley system. So there's not a whole lot going on there, but I mean, it looks decent. I'll put it at the bottom of C tier. I think it's just a bit too basic. This one's actually pretty interesting though. This like little dumpy, we got a little dumpy here. The dominoes go into it and then it like dumps out a bunch of whatever you put in it, whether it be dominoes. I don't know how much weight it can take. I would like to experiment to see if you could put like a bunch of marbles in there or something like that. But this is fun. This is actually a really fun idea. I'm gonna put this one in A tier. I'm gonna put it above the orange rod. No, I'll put it above robot. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so Domino Rally in the modern day is very weird. It's very scary. The factory set was scary enough, but this is sort of, they've delved a little bit into like Star Wars theming. I don't know why specifically they bought the rights to Star Wars. I don't know if they really utilized it that much other than repurposing a lot of like pre-existing components they'd already made. But this is one thing that came out of it, which was the R2 Dealer 2. It's another domino dealer. I mean, it is cute. Like, it's better than the double dealer. I like it more than a standard domino dealer, but it's like, why would you get an entire Domino Rally set and just get a domino dealer? I don't know. Another one from the Star Wars sets we have, it's just another, I think it's just a variant of this cannon up here, just a maybe taller version of the cannon. I don't know what this thing is called because I don't think I've ever watched any piece of Star Wars material in my life. But it's just another one of these canon things. It's less thematically important to me. So instead of B tier, I will be putting it into C tier. As for where in C tier, I'm going to put it right about there, right below the rowboat for me personally. Next up is the Death Star. I did watch a video of this reacting. It's a bit weird. Like, you kind of expect it to like explode a little bit. Like, the base is really satisfying. The base sort of flowers out in a nice way, but the top kind of just like pops off slightly and then falls back onto it, which is not super satisfying. I'm tempted to put it in D for Death Star, but I will put it in C because mechanically it is more interesting than D tier. I'll put it right here. I'll put it higher than the Ghostly. No, I won't. Yeah, I won't. I will not. All right, next up, we have some exciting ones. This might be one that some of you have heard about. It's basically the Domino roller coaster pivot track stands, I guess. They're basically stands that allow you to build pivot tracks higher and higher. These I had heard about, but what's interesting, and what I didn't hear about, is that the original set these came from was a set called Luna Park, which came with these and something else, which I'll showcase next, which is actually genuinely very exciting. But these, as a standalone, I do like them. I think they're okay. They are just pivot tracks, and I imagine it would be kind of a nightmare to reset a large portion of these. I'm gonna put them right below the rockets. But what's really fascinating about this set is this thing. It came with a Ferris wheel. It came with a Ferris wheel trick. Like, this is awesome. This is really cool. And like, okay, you might just think this is just like an aesthetic Ferris wheel. It just spins and it doesn't have an output. No, they designed it to have a specific weight in front so that you can use it as an input and an output. It's like perfect. It's possible that the reliability is 0% on this. I'm going to take its word for it though, and assume that it's very reliable, and I'm gonna put it in S tier because this is really cool.
Hello, Domino fans. Sorry for the brief intermission here, but it turns out I missed a couple in this amusement park category. So it turns out there was a set released in the late 80s, literally just called Amusement Park, and I just found out about it while editing this video and finding the footage and stuff. So here are the original tricks from that set. I would have put both of them in A tier. They both look really cool. Here's some footage of them reacting. That's it. All right, bye.
Speaking of really cool, this thing. Now, we got to talk about this. So there's an old YouTuber by the name of VSWE who, once again, I should thank them as well because they introduced me to a number of very weird sets that I think existed in the mid-2000s and at no other time period in existence. And one set is an Extreme Express set, like Domino Express Extreme, and it's basically a bunch of repackaged parts from old Domino Rally sets, but there's one standout, and that's this thing, which is basically a hybrid between the helicopter and the elevator module. The reason why this is so cool is because it's not only a helicopter, but it's a helicopter that reacts, like you can use it as an output after the helicopter stops spinning. So like it's perfect in a sense that like the old school helicopter, the helicopter goes off, but then the path splits, or you know, it diverts after you react it. This one has an output in the weight that falls down. So you can use it as a helicopter, as the motion, but then you can, there's a delay. I love this. I'm obsessed with this. This is like genuinely the reason why making this video is fun for me. This is awesome. This is great. This is the top of the line. Like, I wish I had this component because that is so cool. Like, that is what the helicopter should have been in the first place, quite frankly. So, and now speaking of VSWE, he also showcased this old set, which I managed to do a little bit of research, a little bit of digging. It's literally called Dynamic Dominoes. I'm not kidding. That's the name of the set, and it came with these basically like. The concept of the set was to have a bunch of dominoes navigating around a more complicated space, like on the tops of table surfaces, between tables, between sections of floor, going up to a table, going down from a table. So all 4 of these components here all offer that same sort of utility. There was basically a launcher, a catcher, a dropper catcher, and a like pulley system, the exact same type of pulley that we saw earlier in C tier. These ones I'm just going to put, I mean, they're not super exciting, so I'm just going to put them at the bottom of C tier. But I thought that they were worth mentioning because they are pretty interesting. I mean, I do like the idea of having like these weird old school stunts that like you can't put your finger on where they came from and how they came into existence. Speaking of which, there's also the ones from Shane's Dominoes, the GNS4. I don't know what these are. This funnel in particular is a little bit cursed. I think the fact that it has these ridges in it, they're not spiral ridges though, they're like regular rings. And what that means is when the marble goes down, it goes down initially normally, very nicely. And then as soon as it gets to the middle, it sort of like skips a couple of ridges a couple of times because it still has a lot of momentum. And so that, from a design flaw standpoint, I gotta put it in C tier because it's not quite as satisfying as it could be. So I am gonna put it honestly right below the blue funnel here, but it's close to getting higher. I do like that it has a proper input to it. This one, on the other hand, does not have a proper input to it. This is just a zigzag. So I'm just gonna put this, I'm gonna put it in D tier. I'll put it like here. Actually, I'll move this up and I'll move you down. Yeah, all right. This one, though, is really cool, this half-pipe one, because this is a very unique... I mean, this is not unique to the chain reaction field in terms of marble tracks and marble races and stuff like that, but in terms of Domino Rally, we haven't seen this before, which is like the ball goes on the half-pipe before it eventually loses its energy, and then it goes out through the middle. I like this a lot. This is awesome. This is like A tier for me. All right. Next up, we're getting into a little bit of the cursed territory. This is where we get into Domino Tornado. Let's start off a little easy. So we're going to start off with Donkey Kong, a little Donkey Kong launcher. This one's cute. I mean, it's fine. It's harmless. It seems like the airplane has like a cool tip on it. The donkey goes, and then it launches. It's fine. The aesthetic of it is a little bit weird. Like, once again, there's something about Domino Tornado that feels a little bit off. Like, it really feels like off-brand Domino Rally, which is not the best vibe, but I do like it. So I will put it in C tier at the very least. I'll move it all the way up to here, honestly, right in front of the boat. We also have a path splitter from Domino Tornado, and I will actually give this one props for being a, like, sensical path splitter. Like, it is just a Y path splitter with a pivot track, which I think has utility to it. So I think for that reason alone, I will put this in C tier. It's not going to be super duper high C, but I'll put it above the unreliable stuff. We have the loop-de-loop. Now, this is where we get into sort of some weird territory. So the loop-de-loop, I mean, we already have ranked the loops. The Domino Tornado loop-de-loop is just like kind of not that good. It's kind of whack. Like, there's something about the fact that it launches a minecart instead of a domino, which is it's a heavier sort of module, and so it goes a lot faster, and so it's less satisfying in my opinion. But there's also the clash of like the blue clear tracks with the yellow plastic that just looks kind of ugly to me. This image is doing a lot of work for it right now. This angle, this camera angle is very good, but most of the time this doesn't look very good. So I think, going to put it in, I'll put it bottom of C. I mean, it's still a loop-de-loop, so I am going to put it in C tier, but it is below the other loop-de-loops by a substantial amount. I will put it right here, if I can do that. There we go. Next up, we have the zigzags, the marble zigzag. This is actually probably one of the positive points of Domino Tornado, was this marble zigzag that I was initially very curious about when I first started watching these videos. It has a little bridge component to it where you can put dominoes underneath. It's pretty cute. I do actually really like this one. I'm almost considering giving it an A tier, but I feel like because it's Domino Tornado, I'm torn. I feel like I have to give it B. But I do think it is like top of B, like right below the Starburst, because it does have more utility as a zigzag than the other Domino Rally zigzags. So I do like it from that perspective. The Domino Dealer, I mean, there's nothing more to say. There's nothing to say about this one. I'm just gonna put it in the alongside the other Domino Dealers here. I don't like it any better than the original Domino Dealer. We have this thing. This is a little weird. So it's like a zigzag, but it actually looks like, to me, like each layer, each of the like individual layers of the track are slightly different, like in terms of their staggering. So like there's a staircase and like a wavy path and stuff like that, which doesn't look that good, I think, because it's one solid color. I think if they were different colors, maybe it would look a little bit better. I do like the release of like the double jointed lever, the leap day lever, I should say. I like that aspect of it, but the rest of it, I don't care about, honestly, at all. It's definitely, it's a D tier, but it's like, I think it's higher. It's high D tier. It's not as good as Dino Jungle, but it's like better than a Domino Dealer. That's where I'm at. The flagpole, I mean, this is definitely an ending step. I think this is okay, ending with a flag. Out of all the things you could end with, it's definitely better than ending with brain juice, as over here. So I think I'll give it a C tier. It's a little bit boring, but it is like a decent ending, so I will put it like here. Cactus. S tier. It's a cactus. It's great. It's iconic. I love it. I don't know what it is. This one has nostalgic factor for me because I saw it in so many people's videos. But it's just a direction changer, but there is, like, it is just nice. I like the direction changer cactus. It's fun. And now we're going to get into some of the fun ones here. So we have this bridge. Oh my gosh. Why does it look like that? This is bad. Like, this is worse than the Domino Rally bridge. Like, it's not an F tier, but it's worse than the actual bridge, so I'm going to put it there, but I'm not happy with it. We have rolling egg. Wow! Yes, I love to see a rolling egg go down an almost very straightforward track with absolutely nothing happening on it. Very cool. That's gonna be a D tier as well. Where in D tier? I don't know anymore at this point. It's gonna go there. I'll put this above the dealers, and I'll put all y'all above the dealers, because the dealers are absolute trash. And next up, thankfully, all the sort of simple ones that are just sort of like straight tracks and nothing more going on are out of the way. Except for this one, which is just a wheelbarrow going down a track, not slowly, just going down the track. All right. Thankfully, at this point, surely there's no more left. So like, deep down in my inner soul, I feel like because this exists, I am less happy as a result. All right, and then we have just some more pivot tracks. Like, just like, why would you waste your time making more pivot track variations when you could just make cool things instead? Like, it's just a pivot track. It's fine. It's fine. I'm getting overwhelmed. It's like, there's no reason for it to exist, so it's got to go in D tier. It's like harmless, but it's boring, so I'm gonna put it there. It's like, All right, so let me just take you through a little bit of a journey as to what's going on in my head right now. So we have a U-turn pivot track. So normally a pivot track, like with a pivot track, right? Like you take it, you knock the dominoes over, they fall down one by one. Brilliant. All right, now you got to reset it. What are you going to do now? Well, now you got to tilt it, and so the dominoes fall back the other way. Cool, because they're all hinged, they're all secured into place. It's going to work properly because they're all hinged together. Like, that's the reason why it exists, just to make the reset easy. And now you made a U-turn where half the dominoes are going one direction, half of them are going the other. So as soon as you how are you going to reset it very easily? I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't own one of these. Like, maybe you could do a little whiplash thing. It's a U-turn, so it's not like it's not that bad. I guess you could do a little like whip, and then maybe that would give it enough momentum. It's still going to be close to the bottom of D tier here. Thankfully that's the last pivot track abomination we're gonna see. How do you reset this one? How do you reset that? If you flip it one way, the dominoes are gonna fall over the other way, and if you flip it over the other way, the dominoes are gonna fall over the initial way. This makes me sad. All right, so thankfully all the abominations are out of the way and we have nothing more we need to worry. All right, so we have generic marble track that is available as just by itself in other stores. This sucks. Like, I don't even want to talk. I guess I can get into the weeds. So I actually owned this exact marble track growing up, not Domino Tornado, just like the marble track itself. It sucks. The marble track itself is unreliable. The green funnel, the plastic marbles they give you get stuck in that funnel because they're so lightweight. You have to literally use a heavier, smaller marble, by the way. A regular small marble will get stuck in that track. They designed it to be just small enough so that you can't use your own marbles unless you have very unique, special, small ones, because they give you very unique, special, small ones. And then they make it... What do they change about it? What do they change? Well, they don't add an input connection. This has to be the start of the Domino Rally, unless you make it into a chain reaction, because there's no input connection. They didn't change anything about the actual input. This is the same. They just kept it the exact same, and then they changed one molecule of the output track so that it can go off the edge. They didn't add a little divot domino or a pivot domino or anything. They literally just made it so that the marble can go off the edge. This sucks. This is an absolute abomination. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in planet Earth. Get this out of my face. This is the worst. They also made a different type of marble track as well. This might not be Domino Tornado. This might be a different variation, like Mr. Domino or something like that. An upside to this version is that there is actually a trigger. You can have dominoes going into the base of it, and then that will trigger the top part and release the domino. But it's still it's not a stunt. Domino Rally stunts should be stunts. They should be a discernible proper thing. And it just is very frustrating that this exists in the form that it does. Once again, I have to put it in D tier. I'll put it right below the Dino. What is this? What are we doing? Why am I here? Why does it look like a reverse Dookie? I don't know what to say. I'll put it in the USA tier. We are genuinely officially done now. We have ranked all 101. This took forever to put together, but anyways, yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. It took a lot longer to put. It took a lot longer to put this together than I expected it to, but I think it really did come together in the. All right, and that is genuinely all of them. That is. We are finally over with the list. This took so much longer to make than I expected it to be, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, I can go back to the top of the list here. So my top 5 Domino Rally components are the cactus, the zip line, the Ferris wheel, the elevator with muncher, and the weird elevator helicopter hybrid. And that's it. That's my opinion. I'll try to make a version that's playable in the description. So if you check the top of the description, you should be able to make your own tier list with the exact same set of very cursed components. And yeah, thanks everyone so much for watching. I hope everyone has a great holidays and or today's date. And I will see you next time.